Hey sports fans. Tired of hearing the same old stories that are just copy, paste and repeat?
Oh.
Tune into Southwest Florida's newest leader in town and take the drive with Q. Too bad he's on at 3 because you're actually going to have to come up with your own content.
Anyone care that I am working next door to you guys are driving me crazy?
The drive with Q starts now.
Yeah, and it begins. Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to have to put the bumper music. I love that. 3 o'clock straight up on a Wednesday edition of The Drive with Q. Rich Quinones here. Angel Martinez behind the glass. Producing a show. I can hear the honkers and the horns. There goes that news van on this Wednesday in mid-August, the 14th of 2024. 2 hours to play with. We'll take you up to 5 o'clock straight up. We are powered by Eye on TV for all your late-breaking news, weather, and traffic alerts. And, of course, part of Sports Radio 102.9 FM, the Game, Coastal Sports Network. And as always, we encourage you guys to text in 727-858-6650. And we always want you to bring something to the table. Really busy show today as we take you up to 5, as I mentioned. Give us a follow on X at RichQNQ. Also, we are on the Coastal Sports Network, SR 1029 Angels page as well on the YouTube channel. And again, we always encourage you guys to chime in over the next 2 hours. And no, we don't copy and paste on the airways. A lot of NFL news and notes. We'll get into some baseball as well. A couple things with the NFL. I know we talked about this on Monday's show, and I also want to dive into, by the way, I guess also the putting a bow on the Olympics and a couple of the comments that I heard, especially Carmelo Anthony, regarding a gold medal and/or an NBA championship. We'll dive into that. But as far as the NFL, this actually came down earlier today. JJ McCarthy out for the rest of the season. He's going to miss the entire season, I should say. Vikings rookie quarterback JJ McCarthy is going to be out 2024 after surgery on his torn meniscus revealed a repair was necessary. And a lot of people didn't think it was a major injury, to be quite honest with you. But again, this goes with the conversation we had the other day, right? To sit him or to start him. He hurts his right knee in that preseason game against the Vegas Raiders. Now it's all about the well-traveled journeyman veteran quarterback, Sam Darnold. Nick Mullins is going to be quarterback number 2. It's always, I guess you can say 2020, right? We always say hindsight is 2020. It's almost Monday morning quarterbacking after the fact. Darnold signs a 1-year deal, $10 million contract. So he's bounced around a little bit here and there. 49ers, Carolina, obviously drafted by the Jets, the injuries, the mono, and never padded out. Then you turn around and the Vikings decide it's time to just move on from Kirk Cousins. So now Kirk Cousins is in Atlanta. Atlanta turns around, they draft Michael Penix. So Minnesota, I think, was waiting to see if Darnold was going to be able to win them some games. And if not, McCarthy was going to be the answer going forward. I mean, that's just the bottom line. And I'm not going to tell you that, Sam Darnold had a flash his rookie year, a flash his second season. He didn't play that poorly early on with Carolina. Had a bunch of rushing prop touchdowns, believe it or not. So you guys were able to cash in. But point being is he's been a journeyman quarterback at this stage of his career. And he's only 27, which makes it even just more, tough to fathom, right? But McCarthy, I think that's a huge blow. I mean, you feel for the kid and injuries happen, but it goes back to the conversation of sit them, start them, why you rest players, why you bubble wrap players, why you don't start players, why they're only in there for a series or two. Rest assured now, if you're another team out there, let's just say Washington with Daniels, they're going to be looking around. All right, kid, you're going to get a series or two, if that, against the Dolphins. Maybe a series or two, if that, against the Patriots before they open up the season on the road against Tampa Bay, 4:25 kickoff on September 8th. They're not going to risk it. You're not going to throw the number 2 overall draft pick, the quarterback that you believe is going to be the face of your franchise for the next 10 plus seasons, and risk him getting banged up, hurt, nailed, right? Injured, and boom, you lose him. But it goes back to that original conversation. Start him or sit him, get him going. So we'll dive into that a little more today on this Wednesday afternoon. I want to also get into frauds in the NFL. And I'm not talking about the players per se, but I believe there are several teams that are just fraudulent. I believe there are several teams that wake up every morning and they get up, make their coffee, they shower, they shave. If you shave in the morning, they look in the mirror and they try to come off as contenders. And I'm telling you right now, they're friggin' frauds and they will be exposed during the NFL season. And then we'll get into a little baseball. Bad loss by the Phillies last night. I mean, it's just crazy to think the Marlins blanked the Phillies. Oh, by the way, on the road. And I'm wondering too, has anyone noticed the season that Aaron Judge is having for the New York Yankees? He's just quietly putting up ridiculous, sick monster number 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650. But again, NFL, that's where we start. And you start to now, as we get into week 2 of the preseason, remember, it's only 3 weeks now, the preseason. Then boom, we got a 17-week regular season. Everyone's already starting to look. I've already pulled up week 2 preseason lines. Some of these lines are just absolutely just comical when you think about it. The unders, we talked about that with the totals. They're always going to be a shade about 31 to 36 plus, maybe 37. There are a couple games we will get into, but I find it appealing when we get to this point of the summer where teams are cutting down and players are getting banged up and injured. And you almost get this sense some teams, even though we haven't even kicked off, we haven't had week 1 of the NFL season. Some teams, I believe, are starting to look around and they're already starting to feel the pressure. And there's a couple types of pressure, right? Look, Minnesota, you lose a rookie quarterback. That's a tough blow. You are banking for this kid, getting some reps, getting some snaps, especially if Sam Darnold struggled. It's one of the reasons you drafted the kid. You look at Cleveland, a bunch of injuries and starters going down. You look at the 49ers, a bunch of injuries and starters going down. And now there's these multiple reports that, okay, what are they going to do? Is it that easy? Is it complicated? Is it easy? Should they pay? Should they trade? Brandon Ayuk, you have the situation with the Jets. You know, you heard comments from Robert Salah. You heard comments from Aaron Rodgers. You got Hassan Reddick. You know, is it a distraction? Isn't it a distraction? There's always something going on. You have Jerry Jones almost basically saying, being very dismissive when it comes to his star wide receiver. You got a Browns rookie that's just been arrested. I mean, people, when you say distractions in the NFL, every team believes they have an opportunity to have a great season. Every team in the NFL at this point, they say to themselves, hey man, we've got an opportunity to do something special, right? You'll hear that a lot. We have an opportunity to do something special this season. We can maybe win some games. We can maybe upset the apple cart, but all we have to do is stay what? We got to stay focused. We have to stay disciplined. We've got to back, each other. We have to show up. We have to work. We have to be on time. We have to give maximum effort. And we can ill afford to have any distractions. And I can tell you this, in 20 plus years of doing this and in covering the league, people will gloss over certain off the field situations, whether it's a contract dispute, whether it's a holdout, whether it's an injury, whether it's a quarterback that maybe had a rough offseason, roster rebuilding, new head coach. Does he have the ear of the players? Are the players responding? Was there really a red flag with the draft pick? Did they make the right draft pick? Power struggles, head coach on the hot seat, GM on the hot seat, player got paid in the offseason. Are they going to perform? Are they going to back their play? I've seen this before. I've seen this. So those examples I gave you, those little distractions, any former player will tell you, man, there are certain things that they will not allow to creep into the back of their mind. Like, for instance, I don't believe 49ers players are sitting around huddling up saying, oh man, I hope they don't trade Brandon. they're going to go out and perform, right? Because that's a veteran team. That's a playoff tested team. They just got back to the Super Bowl, defending NFC champs, had an opportunity again to win a Super Bowl. But, the franchise itself, the head coach, the GM, it's a distraction in this regard. You got a quarterback that certainly wants that toy to play with, and you take this kid off the field, and I think it's going to put more pressure on Brock Purdy. So that's not even a good distraction, because I believe distractions are not good. There's only bad distractions. And again, you can take it for what it's worth, right? Because I know where you guys are going with this. Sometimes if your mind's not at ease and you want to distract your mind, I get it, and you do something to keep your mind off certain things. But in this regard, in the football sense, in the sports world sense, if you're the 49ers, you got to get this deal done. You got to figure out what you're going to do. Are we going to trade this kid? Are we going to pay him? What are we going to do? If you're the Minnesota Vikings, now all of a sudden you got to rally around Sam Darnold. You got to say to yourself, Sam, you're our guy until further notice. And if he stumbles, if he gets hurt, then it's going to be Mullins. And then you got to rally around him. If you're the Philadelphia Eagles and you listen, if you're teammates of Jalen Hurts and you listen about what he said and what he didn't say regarding the head coach, that can become a little bit of a distraction. And you're going to have people, players, maybe side with Jalen Hurts, maybe to a man, pull him to the side. I agree with you, man. I think our head coach kind of be a knucklehead. I kind of agree with you. So there's always distractions. And they come in various sizes, shapes, forms. It's the veteran teams. It's the playoff tested teams. It's the teams like Kansas City. Injuries, right? Distractions. Can you get back to the Super Bowl? Odds on favorite. Here we go. Them and the 49ers, 1-2 if you look at the books. Is this the last run here for Mahomes and Kelsey and Andy Reid? The pressure, right? We always talk about distraction. It's a totally different animal now because they are a player team, right? They're a playoff tested team, period. They've been there before. They have been there before. The 49ers have been there before. The Philadelphia Eagles have been there before. But there are some teams, Miami with 2 in his contract. People would have looked at that. If you didn't sign him, if you don't pay him, if you don't give him that extension, it could be a distraction. We talked about that 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, a month ago, we started to talk about that. So right away, these teams are being tested, and it's only August 14th. And they're having to overcome adversity. 49ers, injury bug. Cleveland, injury bug. Minnesota just lost a rookie quarterback. The Eagles, the dissension within that locker room. I mean, that's the beauty of the NFL. It's a war of attrition, 17 weeks now, 3 preseason games. You start to scour the wire, the transaction wire. You're trying to get your roster trimmed and ready, and here you go. And then you have teams that will look in the mirror, and we'll get to that on the other side of the break, and they will try to convince themselves that they are a contender. They will convince themselves when the season kicks off. And if we technically say when the season kicks off, Thursday night, September 5th, Ravens and the Chiefs. By the way, Chiefs laying a home 3. And then you get to the Friday. Remember now, we have a Friday kickoff, Green Bay and Philly. Nothing on a Saturday. They're playing in Brazil. And then the Sunday slate. So let's just say September 8th, when the season is boom, here we go. Thrust these teams out there. Kick it off and away we go. 1 o'clock slate, 4:25, Sunday Night Football. They believe right now they're contenders. They believe right now they got an opportunity to make the playoffs. They believe right now they're going to win the division. They believe right now they're going to win 5, 6, 7 games. They got a rookie quarterback. They got a veteran quarterback. They got a new head coach. They're rebuilding. They're kidding themselves, some of these teams. And there are also some veteran-laden teams in the NFL that I believe know that they know that they're friggin' frauds. And I say that jokingly, but if you take what I'm about to say, and we'll talk a little bit about on the other side of the break a little bit more, I think you'll agree with me with some of these teams. Because what they do is they tease their fan base. They tease their fan base. They get to a certain level and they say to yourself, going to take it to the next step. We're going to climb that next step. We're going to make a deeper run into the playoffs. Wild card be damned. Divisional round be damned. AFC, NFC championship game be damned. We're getting to the Super Bowl. They're kidding themselves. And I'm not going to say dismiss them for the entire season, but I'm saying the expectations don't match my opinion on these teams. And I think they're flat out frauds. We'll get into that. Hour number 2. Want to get in a little baseball talk. Got Q's plays as well from our good friends over at Acorn Oak and Played Again Sports, 727-858-6650. That'll get you cranked up on a Wednesday edition of The Drive with Q. Rich Quinones here. Angel Martinez behind the glass. Again, 727-858-6650. You can call, you can text in the show. We are powered by Sports Radio 1029 FM. The Game, Southwest Florida's newest game in town, part of the Coastal Sports Network, and also Eye on TV for all your late-breaking news, traffic alerts, weather advisories, weather alerts. Give them a follow online, Eye on TV at Eye on TV on X. Quickie time out. We'll get to your calls. We'll get to your texts. We'll get to your comments. We'll come back on the other side.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Middays with Q. Here's Q.
Uh-oh. We have to reload.
What happened?
We're reloading.
Uh-oh. All right. He shall return. I can't sing, so we'll try it. But anyways, thank you guys once again. Don't forget to visit sr1029thegame.com and download the app. It is right there on the homepage, and he should be back in about 3, 2, 1. Here comes, once again, your host, my hermano, Rich Quinones. Rich.
I believe that's pilot error on that one, not me. But, what are you going to do?
Okay.
I'm pointing for the Kings here. By the way, it is the Drive with Q, but we just like that liner because we want to welcome you back as we continue the rebranding. Gas Pump Guy, Cowboys fraud, Gas Pump Guy, Gas Pump Guy, Gas Pump Guy. Yes, yes, yes. Let's get in that, by the way. 20 past 3 o'clock hour on a Wednesday edition of the Drive with Q right here on Sports Radio 1029 FM, The Game. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that for you chiming in and you guys listening out there. Yes, fraud. I think there's 5 or 6 teams in the NFL that are kidding themselves. And the Dallas Cowboys are at the top. I believe the Dallas Cowboys are in store for a really bad and long season. And Cowboys fans, they don't want to hear that. Cowboys fans think, well, hey, man, this is, we know what we have and this, that, the other thing. And, well, we can still win with the head coach and we trust the quarterback. Get the hell out of here. The Cowboys are in store for a long season, and you can talk about anything you want when we start going in the contracts and Dak Prescott and then Mike McCarthy, and you're talking lame duck. I don't think it's a stretch for me to say. I believe it's going to get bad. I do. I really do. I just don't like the makeup of that team. And people can sit there and say, oh, the Cowboys, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? The Cowboys, look at the way their makeup is. They got a good roster and Dak can play a little bit. And all right, Mike McCarthy, he's a little conservative. Did you see what happened in the playoffs? Did you watch this team? I mean, the tone was set for the Cowboys earlier in the year when they lost to the Cardinals, and the Cardinals ran all over them, and then Green Bay did it again, and Jordan and Love looked like Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. That is a team that, yes, wakes up, and they look in themselves in the mirror in the morning, and they say, we're legit. They're not. They're a fraud. And it's, what have you done for me lately in the NFL? And what have they done? You got a quarterback. Do you really think Dak Prescott... I mean, again, be honest, man. Stephen Jones can come out and sit there and say the goal is to get Dak Prescott contract done before week 1. Okay. I know a bunch of Cowboys fans. I have some very good friends that are Cowboys fans. They want this team to be so bad. They want this team to basically implode. They have no desire to see Mike McCarthy and or Dak Prescott anymore. They don't want anything to do with these guys. So you're talking now a couple weeks, 3+ weeks to work out a new deal before September 8th. They go on the road week 1 against the Cleveland Browns. Here you go. Prescott out there participating in Cowboys training camp. He's got the expiring deal. Mike McCarthy, lame duck, dead man walking. If you look at Prescott's numbers, he's set to play 2024 at a cap hit of $55 million. Unrestricted free agent in 2025. And don't tell me if Daniel Jones struggles with the Giants, and I don't care if he has a beard, go out and throw for 5,000 yards and stay healthy for 17 friggin' weeks. Don't tell me Dak Prescott is going to be with the Giants next year. I'll throw up in my mouth. Dak Prescott is a nice quarterback. Dak Prescott right now at this stage of his career, he's top 15. You want to argue top 10? Have at it. But Dak Prescott is not leading the Cowboys to the promised land. Dak Prescott is not going to make a run deep into the playoffs with the Dallas Cowboys. It's just not happening. It's just not happening. So you can look at all the numbers and say 4,500 yards. Okay, fine. He had a monster year. Yeah. And he also had a lot of turnovers. You want to blame the defense? Have at it if that makes you sleep good at night. This team every year, all they do is they bark. That's it. That's all the Dallas Cowboys do. They bark, they bark, they bark. They never bite. Had to go out. What are we going to do? We're going to draft a tackle. We're going to try to get an edge rusher. We're going to try to get a guard, right? We're filling in. We're plugging in, playing. Their run defense still stinks. They got a bunch of overrated players. Do you think the Cowboys didn't have Jerry Jones being general manager and all that? Do you think they could actually be able to do something? I think Jerry Jones is a major problem. And that's a good comment. Good Texan. Thank you. I think Jerry Jones has always been a major problem. He's a meddling owner. He's all about business. He's a fan. He makes that franchise money. We all know that. But sometimes you just have to turn around and you have to want to give up a little bit of power. You want to give up a little bit of the ego. And that's not Jerry Jones. He'll never do that. He'll never sell the team. They'll have to rip the team out of him. That'll never happen. They'll have to rip it away from them. They're not the Dallas Cowboys. They just remind me of, they're a good team, right? But you already know what's going to happen. come December. You already know. It's like if you were a bad kid and you know the holidays are around the corner and it's Christmas time and it's 2 weeks out and you've been a little SOB for 7 months, you really think you're going to make it up in 2 weeks and Santa's not going to give you the coal? You're not going to get the shaft when it's time to open up the Christmas presents? You kind of know what you're expecting. You know what's going to happen, right? You can't make that. It's almost like the Dallas Cowboys. We know what's going to happen. We already know. They can't make it up. They can't turn around and have these 12, 13, 14 win regular seasons and then turn it on the play. That's not who they are. That's not their makeup. They're a mentally soft team. And by the way, they're not the only one. They're not the only one. You look around the NFL, and I'm so tired, right? Everyone talks about expectations. So you go to New York, and I'm not talking about my Giants because I told you I think they're going to be a bad team. I think they're going to struggle this year. But the team right in their backyard as well, the New York Jets. You've got a head coach in Robert Saleh, that nice guy by all account, shouldn't be a head coach. You brought in an offensive coordinator because you wanted to appease Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers had a cup of coffee with the New York Jets, 4 offensive snaps, and then he goes down for the season. And now Aaron Rodgers, who's never taken a meaningful snap with the Jets, all of a sudden pretends he wants to be that leader. You can't be that guy. You're not that guy anymore. You want to talk about a fraud team? I think the Jets are a fraud. The AFC East is going to be an extremely compelling division. We can all agree. Tua got paid. Buffalo's trying to get, they're trying to break through. New England, you know how I feel about New England? I think their roster, the way it's been built, is poorly constructed. The coaching staff, I don't like it. I'm not confident at what I've seen over the last several years with the Patriots. I understand different regime now. Okay, you give them the benefit of the doubt. They got some defensive players. They're not going to compete in the AFC East. So you got Miami paying Tua. You got the Jets, and all of a sudden, Aaron Rodgers. Here we go. This is it. And then you got the Buffalo Bills, who just seem to not be able to break through. The Jets, to me, are a friggin' fraud. The Jets might be a good team, but I think everything's contingent upon Aaron Rodgers. And I don't trust that Aaron Rodgers is going to be healthy for 17 weeks. I don't trust the coordinators. I don't trust the head coach. I don't. I watch enough of this team to know what I'm getting at. And by the way, if you look at the Jets and their schedule, they open up on the road against San Francisco. Then they open up on the road against Tennessee. Mind you, San Francisco's on a Monday night. 6 days, turn around, Tennessee. Now, you come back home for your opener. Everyone thinks Aaron Rodgers is going to light it up against New England. Okay, fine. Here you go. It's a Thursday night affair. Then Denver, Minnesota, Buffalo. They do have some winnable games to start the season. You can't deny that. San Fran's going to be a tough game. Tennessee on the road, tricky spot. New England's a winnable game. Denver's definitely going to be a winnable game, especially if Bo Nix is starting. Minnesota now, right? You get to, here you go. Here's a storyline. Minnesota, Darnold against the Jets. Your test is going to come Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Houston, Arizona on the road. That can be a tricky spot. A much improved Colt team. Point being is, if this team is 6-1, 5-2, I'll be eating some crow early on. And that tells you Aaron Rodgers is healthy. The defense is playing lights out, and he's putting up some big numbers. If they're 4-3, and Aaron Rodgers is struggling a little bit, and then you look how they closed the season, after their bye week, Seattle, Miami on the road, Jacksonville on the road, the Rams, Buffalo on the road, Miami. Hey, man, they better stockpile some wins. If the New York Jets do not get to the AFC Championship, it is an extremely disappointing season. Hence the fraud. I don't even think this is a playoff team, to be honest, because do we really suspect 2 or 3 teams coming out of the AFC East? I think Miami, everyone's sleeping on Miami. And if you stay in that division, I'll give you another team that I believe is a fraud. And I love this kid as a quarterback, but that's the Buffalo Bills. I mean, the Buffalo Bills, there's just something about the Bills. I mean, listen, I can only talk to guys that cover the team, and people believe that, Josh Allen is a extremely talented quarterback. I believe that. I think Josh Allen is a top 10 quarterback. I'm a huge fan of Josh Allen. But I also know right now, when you watch Josh Allen play, he has to improvise a little too much. And sometimes he gets himself in situations where he can't get out. And I'll have those ill-advised picks or interceptions. He put up monster numbers last year. But yet, when push comes to shove, this team cannot get over the hump. They just can't. You go back a couple years ago, the loss of Cincinnati in the divisional round, their offense didn't do anything in 2022. I don't think this team's recovered since losing that divisional game, that crazy game against Kansas City, the overtime game, the SWIP kick. I don't think this franchise has recovered from that. And they better figure it out because everyone's talking like this team is a 10, 11 win type of team this year. I mean, you look at the win totals right now in the AFC East. If you pull them up, Buffalo's odds to win the division of plus 125. Miami's sitting at plus 200. The Jets are at plus 300, and New England's at plus 2,000, which is just ridiculous. Now we look at the win totals. And I'll pull them up right now because, they change here and there. A half a game here and there, it changes big time. So the win totals right now, if you kind of project, and let me see what we got. That Miami, that the Jets, and that Buffalo, they should be 9 to 11 wins, right? And I think Buffalo is going to struggle to win 11 games. I really do. I mean, they were active in the offseason, but again, talk about some of the decisions they made with some key players, right? The criticism, Stephon Diggs traded to Houston. Diggs was Josh Allen's number one wideout. Gabe Davis walked in free agency. So you try to replace Diggs and Davis. You bring in what? Mac Hollins, Chase Claypool, who's been nicked up. Scantling issues, right? I mean, they're not striking fear in the hearts of secondaries. So their win total right now sits at 10.5. I think I would take a flyer on the under. Miami sitting at 11. Jets sitting at 9.5, 10. That is a tough division that you have to go through if you're one of those aforementioned teams. Don't beat up New England. Don't get me wrong, but Buffalo, they're kidding themselves if they think they're a contender. I think they're a fraud. I think their window has passed. I think it's shut. I think their time has closed. So you got the Jets, you got Buffalo, you got the Dallas Cowboys. Part of me wants to say a couple other teams, but I'll wait a little bit. I'm going to reserve judgment. But I can tell you two other teams that I really think either read their press clippings a little too much, or maybe everyone's kind of drinking the juice. Typically in the NFL, when you arrive early or you have that jump from year one to year two, especially when we look at the quarterbacks. And maybe fraud is too strong of a word with these two other teams. But I'm looking at, well, you know what? The more I think about it, no. I think Cleveland's a fraud. Cleveland smoke and mirrors last year. No Deshaun Watson. Joe Flacco had to come in. I know Watson started to play a little better. They won 11 games. You're looking for Flacco to win you a big game in the playoffs. It's not cool Joe anymore, man. I mean, they got absolutely hammered by the Texans last year, 45-14. They're already being hit by some injuries. You talk about the AFC East being a compelling division. How tough, football fans, is going to be the AFC North this year? Cincinnati, Baltimore, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, right? Tomlin never has losing seasons. I think Cleveland's a fraud. I am not a fan of Deshaun Watson. I am not high on Deshaun Watson. I think people are looking at Deshaun Watson as the quarterback that he once was. And I just don't see it anymore. I don't see the 26-9 from 2018 to Deshaun Watson. I don't. And that's why I think Cleveland's going to be set up to really disappoint their fan base. They'll be a good team, but I only believe you have 2 or 3 really complete teams in the NFL where you can hang your hat. I mean, would you guys agree with that, right? There's probably 2 or 3 teams in the NFL where you say to yourself, the Baltimore, Kansas City, San Francisco, I can't even throw the Eagles into the mix. Not after what transpired last year. 10-1, dropping 5 of 6 to close the season. No show on the road in the wild card against Tampa Bay. I mean, I'm not confident in some of these teams. And I think a lot of people are looking at the win totals. A lot of people are looking about some of these offseason moves or lack thereof that these teams have made. And these young teams that take this quick step, right? Green Bay, Houston. Logic says they kind of come back a little bit. If you look in the past, or maybe we overvalued them a little bit. The Giants went on the road a couple years ago and they beat the Minnesota Vikings, and then they got waxed by the Eagles in the divisional round. They came back, followed up the season. They were bad last year. Granted, they had injuries. They lost Daniel Jones, but they went from here and then they took that step back. Now, I'm not wishing injury on anyone, but I think we're overvaluing a little bit Houston because you still have Jacksonville in the division. Indianapolis is going to be better if Richardson can stay healthy. And then you look at Green Bay in the NFC North. Well, listen, Detroit's still Detroit. And for some reason, there is this ridiculous amount of buzz in Chicago. And let their fans have the buzz with Williams. Go ahead. Enjoy it. But maybe those teams, Green Bay, Houston, maybe logic says you're going to take a step back a little bit. And you have to think, when you start to look at these win totals, if you look at the Packers, their win total in that division is 9.5. So they got you on the hook. I mean, give me 9. Don't give me 9.5. I don't want that. Because they're probably going to have to win some games late. And then you look at the Texans, who really exceeded the expectations. Guess what theirs? 9.5 too. These are teams that are winning 10, 11. That's where people believe they're going to be. I don't. I think some of these teams, I think we're overvaluing them a little bit. Green Bay was 9-8. They won 3 straight to get to that 9th win last year and get into playoffs. You look at the Houston Texans, they were 10-7. Were they a 10-7 that blew you away? Stroud had a remarkable season. But at one point they were 3-4 and they had to win a couple games in a row. They kept going flip-flopping back and forth, 6-5, 7-5, 7-6, 8-6. They won 3 out of 4 to hit that mark. And they were really impressive in the win against Cleveland, and then they got outclassed by Baltimore, and they lost by 24, 34-10 in the divisional round, and Stroud struggled. He didn't even crack 200 yards. So I believe those teams, if you want to say fraud, boom, we can say fraud. I believe they're going to take a step back, 727-858-6650, and I would be very weary. Let me hear what you guys think as well. I would be very weary with touching some of the win totals as well. And there's going to be movement. 8, 8.5, 9, 9.5. I hate that hook. I really do. I know some of you guys chiming in about Houston right now. I don't believe they're going to be as good as they were last year. And remember, too, you got a young quarterback. So we've seen the film on CJ Stroud. And defenses adjust. I still believe, though, the AFC North, the NFC East, compelling for a lot of reasons, and the AFC East, very appealing. The AFC North might be the best division in football. All right, 40 past the 3 o'clock hour. We'll get to your thoughts and your texts and your comments on the other side. We'll take you up to 5 o'clock straight up. A lot of NFL talk. We'll reset the table. Some baseball talk in hour number 2. I also want to get into in hour number 2, the comments that my guy Mello made talking about a gold medal and then, of course, an NBA title. And I found it funny, right? My idol, Mad Dog, Chris Russo, right? They're talking about the U.S. men's basketball team and how the gold medal didn't mean anything. We talked about that on Monday's show. We brought that up on Monday's show. Who cares? You're expected to win the gold medal if you're the U.S. men's basketball team. 727-858-6650. Don't forget, we're powered by ION TV, coming at you live on Sports Radio 102.9 FM. The Game, Southwest Florida's newest game in town, part of the Coastal Sports Network. This is The Drive with Q. Rich Quinones here. Angel Martinez on the other side of glass. We'll get to your texts, your comments on the other side. Quick timeout.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Awesome. Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Call or text the show at 727-858-6650. Now, back to Q.
Oh, no, that's a liner I can lay my head down at night and say that's a good, nicely produced 727-858-6650. I am being crushed right now on Facebook by some of these just goofball Cowboys fans. But I want to get into some of the listeners' comments and text messages as well. 727-858-6650. Fire off, fire away. Fraudulent squads. How do you think the Vikings are going to do now that J.J. McCarthy is injured? Sam Darnold is a new quarterback. Gas pump guy. Always appreciate you, pal. It's a great question. Yeah, I wish I had the answer to that, right? I mean, if you're Jefferson, are you probably thinking to yourself, oh my God, you know? I mean, and here's the thing. I believe they brought in Darnold as a bridge, right? We hear that phrase a lot in the NFL. This guy's a bridge quarterback. Sam Darnold's not the future of the Minnesota Vikings, but what Sam Darnold has an opportunity to do, Sam Darnold has an opportunity to turn around and extend his career and make some money. GP Guy chimes in one more time. I think the only reason everyone talks about the Jets is because Aaron Rodgers is there. I think he's overrated now. He was good, but I think he's done. He's past his time. Yeah, listen, I'll get to Aaron Rodgers in a second, but going back to Sam Darnold, you're asking Sam Darnold to just, and I hate this phrase, and forgive me, guys, manage the game. You're asking now, are you going to dumb down the defense anymore? I mean, think about this. You go from McCarthy, who, do we really believe the kid was going to be a week one starter? I don't care what was said. You brought in Darnold. There's a reason you brought in Darnold, because he's a veteran. And sometimes you have to trust the quarterback that's had how many games in his career? I mean, let's pull it up. You're talking as a starter. Sam Darnold has played in 66 games as a pro. He started 66 games. He's not going to light the world on fire, but he might get you some wins. McCarthy, JJ, groom him to replace Sam Darnold if this team was going to struggle. But that's deflating when you lose a quarterback like that. It really is. That's deflating for a franchise because you missed his rookie year, man. You miss out on it. And listen, you want to talk about a team that might be in trouble with the punch to the gut? Go look at the Minnesota Vikings schedule. They open up against the Giants. Okay, San Fran, Houston, Green Bay, and then the Jets. Huh. So if you're looking at win totals right now and you want to get a little giddy, here we go. Here we go, right? Maybe you might want to play the under. And back to the comment on Rodgers. Vince chimes in. Houston has a good defense. Also, I think that's why they're expected to be just as good. And you think the Vikes should pick up Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill's still out there, huh? That's crazy. That's another quarterback that, had the injuries and then cashed in and then pretty much had he had a nice career. But he cashed in when, again, he was with Tennessee. I always liked Tannehill. I always liked him. That's a really good point you bring up. That's a really good point. I mean, again, he's looking for a home, right? He's still out there. So, boom, what happens? Now, all of a sudden, now you want a quarterback that, again, has had a substantial amount of time and starts. And he also could be that fit, right? I mean, what? Ryan Tannehill, are you kidding me? Am I reading this correct? Do my eyes deceive me? I have to pull this up because I do not buy it for one moment. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's a misprint. I was reading an article and they had Tannehill listed as 26 years old. I'm like, get the hell out of here. He's like 37. Did he, what was it? He do a Benjamin Buttons? Didn't Benjamin Buttons age in reverse? Is that what happened? Tannehill just lost 10 years off of his life. Poor Brad Pitt turned into a little baby at the end of that movie. Never stood a chance, right? All of a sudden you see the suit's too big on him. He's just going back. Tannehill could be a good option. He can be a good pickup. I want to address the Rodgers comment. I think Aaron Rodgers, if the Jets do not get to the AFC Championship, the move for Aaron Rodgers is a disaster. You have to have expectation. I don't care if he's coming off an injury, man. You basically put all your eggs in one basket. You put all your eggs in the Aaron Rodgers basket. And Aaron Rodgers there were a couple excerpts from the book that Ian O'Connell did, talking about Aaron Rodgers and his disconnect with the family and when he was dating and not talking to his parents and his brother and this, that, the other thing. He's just basically like a lone wolf, right? But Aaron Rodgers needs to play this year, man. He's got to be healthy. That's it. I mean, he has to be healthy. And it's hard to say if a guy regrets leaving a team that he had a lot of success with to go to another team. But the problem is the New York Jets, they bent over backwards for Aaron Rodgers. And they had all these concessions. They had the flexibility. They were bending. To some extent, they were breaking. They brought in a coordinator because he's friends with Aaron Rodgers. And if that coordinator was going to get fired, then you have a disgruntled franchise quarterback. And I think that's a problem when you start to cater to some of these guys like that. I really do. Do you remember when, here you go. So we got another one. Jordan Addison carted off the field after a leg injury during a joint practice. By the way, that's one of the reasons that the 49ers and the Saints canceled their joint practices this week, even though they're going to play in the preseason. So the injury bug, boom, another injury for Minnesota. It kind of goes back to Monday's show, right? Sit them or start them. Should you play these guys? But the franchise made a mistake. The Jets made a mistake when they just allowed Aaron Rodgers to come in and just take over. If you remember when Sean Payton arrived at Denver with the Broncos and Russell Wilson was still the quarterback, I guess someone made a comment about the parking space. And I believe, to paraphrase, Sean Payton's like, no one gets a private parking space. Like, he basically nipped it in the bud right away. And that was just a bad fit. That marriage was never going to, that was basically a one-night stand, and then you woke up sober the next morning and you're like, oh my God, what the hell did I get myself into, right? The walk of shame. That's Sean Payton and Russell Wilson. That's how bad it was. It was never going to work. It was never going to, it was just never going to pan out. But the Jets made a mistake when they just basically bent over backwards, made all these concessions. Aaron, it's your team. He didn't earn that right. And I know everyone now wants to say, did he make a mistake? Does he regret leaving Green Bay? Hey, man, we saw it. I can give you one example. I used to do the pod with Brandon Jacobs, who won 2 Super Bowls with the Giants. And I'll never forget, he told me, yeah, in hindsight, it was a mistake to go to the 49ers because he wanted to test the free agent market. He thought the Giants were undercutting him when it came to his contract. And then what happens? It never panned out, never got along with Harbaugh, got banged up, and came back to the Giants and finished out his career. And he won 2 Super Bowls with them. So Aaron Rodgers had success with the Packers. Aaron Rodgers, and this is a conversation and a segment for another day, you can make the case for as great as Aaron Rodgers is and was, Aaron Rodgers was never a clutch quarterback. Because all the time that this team had great regular seasons and hosting playoff games and then losing at home and winning 1 Super Bowl. I mean, think about that for a moment. You go from Favre to Rodgers, 2 Super Bowls. Talking back-to-back Hall of Fame quarterbacks. But it's all on Aaron Rodgers this year, folks. Whether he wants to relish that opportunity, whether he wants the bright lights of New York and Broadway on him, it doesn't matter. I mean, Aaron Rodgers can't turn around September 8th and decide I'm going to go back in a hole and find myself. And he was stringing along Green Bay and then almost kind of mind what with the rest of the NFL, who were basically sitting themselves saying, hey, man, we should try to get Aaron Rodgers, make a run with Aaron Rodgers. Well, the Jets did it, and he gets hurt 4 offensive snaps into the season against Buffalo. And that New England game, that's his return home, right? For the first time since that injury, meaningful football. If Aaron Rodgers is playing lights out, we're not having this conversation. But you cannot cave to the player. You can't. I don't care. Look, man, even Tom Brady, his time in New England was done. And you're talking about number 12. You start bending over backwards for the player. You start making concessions. You start hiring coordinators or, a manager, whatever the hell these position coaches, there's so many of them, right? You start bringing in these guys, quarterback coach, coordinators, just to appease a guy because he was friendly with him. You're not doing right by your franchise because you're not hiring the most qualified candidate out there. I mean, you talk about roster building. I'll go over these before the season starts, man. I got a list of all these coaching carousels and all these coaches and how these rosters were assembled and these coaching staffs were assembled. Rodgers, the NFL version of LeBron. Yeah, it's a great analogy. He's in a way, see, LeBron, I believe, is a coach killer. I've always felt that way about LeBron James. Okay. But Aaron Rodgers now is starting to dictate on his terms. LeBron was doing that for the latter part of his career. He's doing it now with the Lakers. I mean, hello, Bronny. But you cannot tap dance to these players, man. You need to put your foot down. You need to put your foot down. And if he doesn't ball out, if he doesn't sell out this year and the Jets are a 10-7 team and they get bounced in a wild card, or they're 9-8 and they don't make the playoffs, all bets are off. That head coach is gone. And I hate bringing up, when you start to look at odds for head coaches, I mean, it's horrible, right? To be fired, I know it's bad juju, but jeez, I pulled it up. This is ridiculous. I mean, you got Eberflus, 18% chance. You know, McCarthy, I think, is good as gone. They should have fired McCarthy last year. You got Dable, 7.4% shot. Let me see my guy, Robert Saleh. Here you go. So odds for and we haven't even started the friggin' season. That's how twisted this is. Odds for the next head coach fired. Robert Saleh, shortest odds, plus 350, 22%. And oh, by the way, Nick Sirianni, plus 1,500. And then you got the field at 9%, plus 1,000. I mean, listen, man, I don't know what to tell you when it comes to this because some of these guys, it is bad. It is bad. I just don't know what the Cowboys are thinking. That's all. You saw it last year. I'm telling you, Cowboys fans could attest to this. You go back to that game against the Arizona Cardinals, and the Cardinals beat them up, man. And it was kind of the blueprint. Ran the ball. I think they had $150, $160. They opened it up a little bit, and then Green Bay turned around and did the same thing in that playoff game. And now you want to turn around and give your quarterback $60, $70 million a year? Get the hell out of here. That head coach who constantly makes head-scratching coaching decisions, I don't trust them as a franchise. I don't. Every year, the Cowboys win the offseason. That's all we hear. America's team, talking heads, wall to wall. Here we go. They win the offseason. But then when you get to the regular season and they stockpile wins, 10, 11 games, what do they do in the playoffs? That's why I was telling you, my buddies who are just diehard Cowboy fans are like, there's no way we want Dak. There's no way we want Mike McCarthy back. Blow it up. Start over. I mean, I believe too, and I made a joke, and I mentioned this on BYP 727-858-665. I want you guys to chime in as well. Let me know where you're tuning into. That would be great as well. But I made the comment that it's setting up. You know, Jerry Jones opened up his checkbook. Now, Deion Sanders probably not going to coach the pros, but I guarantee they're salivating at the thought of Shedeur Sanders. And I literally will throw up in my mouth if this combination of Dak Prescott and whomever is in New York next year. Just stay away, please. Stay. That's it. Stay away. 727-858-6650. That'll get you involved. Fast approaching the 4 o'clock hour. We got 60 to book, 60 to play with. We're going to read off your comments and your texts on the other side. Keep it locked in. 1 hour in the books, 1 to play with on a Wednesday edition of The Drive with Q. Rich Quinones here. Angel Martinez behind the glass producing the show. Don't forget to download the app. Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game, Southwest Florida's newest game in town. We go up and down the East Coast, up and down the coast, but we love to talk national as well. We are powered by ION TV, part of Coastal Sports Network. As we approach 4 o'clock straight up, this is Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game. We'll come back on the other side. 60 to play with. We'll take you up to 5.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have anybody to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Don't forget to get social with us. Follow Q at Rich Q on Q. And now, back to Q.
We got to reload. Angel, take away.
Let me pop in so you guys can actually hear it. He will be back here in about 3-ish, 2-ish, 1-ish, and back he shall pop into the room, and then you'll see me go away. So here he is.
I was about to take a swipe. By the way, does this look like, I'm going to ask, I really want the opinion of the listeners. Is this too extreme right here?
You know what? No, the funny part is that we're
like moonshine.
Could be, although everybody wouldn't know until now. But we were talking about it earlier today that a lot of the landscapers down here in Florida,
yeah,
you would think that you would put the same gallon that you have right now,
yeah,
but like either in a cooler, in ice, whatever the case may be,
yeah,
or at least have to get it. Nope. What do? They take it, either put it on the hood of their trucks or in the cabin, but mind you, the truck is off. So it's getting hot as I don't know what.
No bueno. And then you start to get the mold inside.
Yep.
That's a bad look.
Yeah.
It's a real bad look. 727-858-6650. Where are you guys chiming in from? Let's get connected. Chime in. Vince Houston, good defense. Can we turn back time to that comment? There we go. David chiming in. Oh, Cedar Hill, Texas. Where is Cedar Hill, Texas?
I believe that is near Dallas, and I could be wrong, but David will let us know. But I believe it is nearby Dallas.
I can Cedar Hill, city in Texas. Here we go. City in Dallas and Ellis counties in the U.S. state of Texas. All right. 18 miles southwest of downtown Dallas. So is he a Cowboys fan? Vince chimes in too. Where? Yeah. Shador Sanders. It's setting up like that. I'm still laughing at the fact that Dez dropped the ball. It cost the Cowboys a chance in Super Bowl when they went against the Packers. That was hilarious. And then David chimes in again. Thank you for the clarification. 15 minutes away from Dallas. But again, is he mocking his... He might not be. Is it possible he lives in Dallas? Or I should say he lives in Cedar Hill, Texas, and he's not a Cowboys fan? From that last comment, he's laughing. Is it like a comical laugh? Is it a sad laugh? Is it a do you find me amusing kind of laugh? Like if he's still laughing, right? Do I amuse you? Because I find it would be very rare to live in Dallas again. Yeah. And not be a Cowboys fan. Where you guys being a guy that works out in the heat a lot, it's better to drink room temperature water than cold water because your body digests it better. So even when I landscaped and I worked at garden centers for years, I was that guy that when it was like 95 degrees, and when you come in when it's air conditioned, and as soon as you go outside, it's like a friggin' punch in the face, right? I would drink coffee.
No, I'm listen.
I'm not, I mean, now is that a problem? I really want, I have to get it off my chest. Like, sometimes, it's just 100 degrees and then there's that person drinking hot coffee. And for some reason, somebody told me years ago, and I probably believed them because I was probably naive, that it cools your body temperature. No. Oh, what did David chime in again? We have to get clarification. Is he a Cowboys fan or is he not? Cowboys fan every year, they end up blowing it. Some weak teams.
Yeah. But
that is somewhat of that's a fair, rational fan right there.
But that's good though, because then when it comes time for Eagles Cowboys, because David, you have literally 3/4 of the NFC East here on the show. Giants fan in my hermano Q, Eagles fan as far as myself, and now you're the Dallas fan.
Yeah, but I'm realistic, by the way.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm realistic.
All right.
I'm objective because no. Don't you? No. Southwest Florida, best state ever. Is that a state, Angel? Do we consider
Florida? Florida. He meant Florida. He was just talking about southwest part of the state.
All right. Listen, I'm objective. Even though we have the helmet, I've gone through a lot of helmets. You can't be a Cowboys fan and then like the Bears. I mean, it's just like, come on, what are we doing? Eagles fans, I don't think are as objective. I enjoy when football comes around because I like to tweak said fan base. I made a comment, and I'll get to baseball in about 2025 with the Phillies. And when the Braves catch the Phillies and it's panic mode, is going to be a worse collapse than last year with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay, relax for that one. But go ahead.
But point being, right away, I poked a bear. Everyone on Facebook, because I have a friggin' Giants helmet behind me. What does that mean? Seriously.
Hold on. Let's pan.
What does it mean?
Whoops. Nope.
What are we glossing over?
No. What I was trying to do was to bring up the other camera. I forgot to fire it up because you were talking about the helmets. And here, because of my lovely wife, that, as David said, he also loves Chicago Bears. Yeah. Obviously, Debbie, originally from the Illinois area. So same way.
Bears fan. All right.
Bears, White Sox.
Yeah. By the way, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Great movie, right?
Right.
Bears got a good team this year. Hell of a team. Your hand's not between two pillows. Those aren't pillows. John Candy. He was fantastic. My point is, just you have to be fair and objective, but I do enjoy tweaking a little bit. I definitely. Bears seem to have it together this year. New quarterback they look really good in the preseason.
Yeah, but same head coach.
I am not a man. I'm gonna get probably ripped for this, and maybe I read too much into it. But I went back and I watched Caleb Williams in college. You can be a really great college quarterback, and it doesn't necessarily translate into being a great pro quarterback. I just saw too many red flags with this kid. And I know right away people are like, QOY, because he was getting upset, losing a game, and that's just showing his path. I don't know, man. Sometimes I look at some of these quarterbacks, and I also think that head coach is horrible. Now, they got him weapons. They got him a running back. You got a tight end. You got some wide receivers. The running back's a rookie quarterback, his best friend. But I want the kid to do well. I'm just not a fan. The only quarterback I ever nailed, let's just take that back. The only quarterback that I ever nailed when I was talking about, nailed it with, he's going to be a bust.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only, it was like the mountain that I was prepared to die on. Well, this is full transparency now for the viewing and listening audience, because this also lets you know when I'm completely wrong, I'll admit it. I thought the Bears, speaking of the Bears, right? I thought the Bears, I was like, oh, Trubisky, he can play a little bit. And if they really believe in Trubisky, draft him. That's your guy. I was wrong. But the quarterback that I knew was going to be horrible horrible was Josh Rosen out of UCLA. I mean, was bust. It's like the one quarterback that I was just, here we go. Here's my mountain. This is where I'm prepared to jump from. And here we go. Let me get to a couple comments on Facebook. Cowboys fans get very upset. They get triggered. John turns around. Q, you're right. I can't take you serious with that friggin' stupid little helmet behind you in the background. What makes you think the Cowboys are going to have a rough go of it? And by the way, Dak is worth 60 to 70 million. P.S. Enjoying the show. Well, first of all, helmet's not going anywhere. Second of all, I already told you this. Do you really believe that Dak Prescott, and I have to go back because, again, you have to be honest. I don't care what the players make. But when you start to look at the numbers and we want to attach the contract to the production, then we have our debates. Then we have our arguments. Are you really going to tell me, honestly, John, that you believe Dak Prescott is a quarterback that can lead the Dallas Cowboys not only deep into the playoffs, but an NFC championship to the Super Bowl? He can't. It's been proven. That's my whole point. Like, don't you guys know after a while? Like, Giant fans are getting on me because I shot out a tweet on X today, even though I still prefer to call it Twitter. I shot out a tweet today, and I basically said, hey, man, that's great. Daniel Jones got the beard, little hair on the chest. Apparently, he's got some dog in him from his teammates. He's really taking on the leadership role. That means nothing to me. Can Daniel Jones play 17 games during the regular season? Can Daniel Jones, in a league where every friggin' quarterback, sorry, Giant fans, because now I'm getting aggravated. Got to get the moonshine. Every quarterback in the NFL can pass for 4,000 yards and 25 plus touchdowns, 30 plus touchdowns. And this guy sits at 3,200 yards and 16, 17 touchdowns. In a league where is it hard to throw for 250 friggin' yards a game? But here we go. Offensive line problems. Oh, they already got a banged up running back. Oh, Neighbors is already banged up. Oh, the offense isn't catered toward Daniel. Stop with the excuses. Stop. Just utterly ridiculous. What's your take on the Bucs? Realist, I know we may not go to Super Bowl. I hope we do, but I know we are a lot better than some people say we are. I don't know about the Bucs, man. I mean, Angel, that's your squad in your backyard. I know you're not a Bucs fan per se, but I look at the division and I don't know what to make of Carolina. I think that rookie quarterback got a raw deal, and obviously they made coaching changes, so he's young. You look at Atlanta. You know, Atlanta's going to be a very fascinating team.
They are.
Well, I'm going to tell you why. Because they make the move for who? They make the move for Kirk Cousins, and they drafted Michael Penix.
Right.
So if Cousins struggles early on, you might see Michael Penix. I joked with Lloyd on BYP. I believe I told him we will see Michael Penix. I think you might see him by week. Man, that's a tough because I'm looking at the schedule right now. You might see him, even though you never want to start a rookie quarterback on the road. If they struggle out of the gate and Kirk Cousins is not 100% or he has some moments and they're 2-4, 2-5, you might see him on the road against Carolina. I don't have a lot of expectations with the Falcons. And then you got the Saints. And now there's a report. I don't know if you guys have been following this. I shouldn't say a report, but there's talk that Carr is being really pushed by the backup. What the hell is the kid's name? Oh my goodness, that's horrible. What the hell is that? The backup quarterback, Spencer Rattler. He's really being pushed by that kid. Now, I know he participated today. I think he had an issue with his thigh, but apparently the coaching staff is high on this kid. He's 23, and Derek Carr has become that kind of check down Charlie type of quarterback. So now you got the Saints, you've got Atlanta, Carolina, young team. I mean, you would say it's Tampa's division to win by default. Baker Mayfield is that X factor. What's your realistic expectations of Baker Mayfield this season? Are you going to get the Baker Mayfield? I mean, look, I like Baker Mayfield. I think there's something to be said about his fight, his drive, his gumption. Right? We can throw out all those words. I mean, he went from Cleveland, and didn't play poorly. Got nicked up, Carolina, a cup of coffee, the Rams, a cup of coffee. And then last year at 28, 29, just finally got it. And however you want to define got it, but he just came into his own. 4,000 yards, I think close to 30 touchdowns, 10 picks. He played well. And he gets paid. So now it's a question of, can you duplicate that success? See, that's the big thing. When you pay these guys, when you have quarterbacks like a Baker Mayfield that have kind of come and gone, and they had that one big season, you're paying him. You're paying him for not only what he did, but what you believe he can do going forward. So you're putting all your eggs in one Baker Mayfield basket. They should be a good team. Tampa Bay's win total for this year, and I had it written down, but I'll pull it up real quick for you guys. Probably like 8.5, 9, 7.5. Wow. So that's telling you right now, the books believe that they're going to have a decline. And that's a playable number right there. They won 9 games. So if they're at plus 150, 152 to make the playoffs, they're pretty much telling you the odds got to be higher for them to win the division. So if you look at NFC South odds right now, yeah, plus 300. Atlanta's actually the favorite at plus 100. And then the Saints are 340, and then Carolina's plus 1,000. That's an interesting team. I got to do a little more digging on Tampa Bay. I don't know if that's a team I would play heavy during the season, but there might be some, games there that can be somewhat profitable. There are some teams out there already that you look and they're going to struggle. They might not. I don't even know if the Patriots are going to be favored in any games this season. I really don't. I mean, think about that. An NFL team not being favored at all, right? Wow. So oh my God, are you kidding me? Angel, when you mentioned that injury for Minnesota, was that Thompson, the wide receiver?
Addison?
Oh no, another wide
down?
Another wide receiver just went down.
Holy crap.
Tyler Thompson just went down with an injury. Jeez Louise.
Minnesota still, man.
My God.
They can't afford it anymore. That's got to be, max.
Are you kidding me? Friggin' MASH unit. Cleveland, injuries. San Francisco. Wow, how about this? Doug Swanson tweets out, J.J. McCarthy is the first quarterback drafted in the first round in the common draft era since 1967 to miss his entire rookie season due to injury.
It happens. I mean, we talk about it all the time as far as you hope these guys end up staying healthy. I mean, it's just, and that was off the preseason game, and they didn't even know anything until he had mentioned it on Monday.
Yeah. So real quick, an update on Addison. The Vikings, okay, you have to word this certainly
the
right way. This is from... Yeah, I don't know how much stock I'm about to put in this. I'm not even going to go there because I'm looking at this guy's Twitter handle and he might be a fraud. But anyway, there's a couple of reports floating out there that they think that Addison might have suffered an ACL injury, which again, MRI will confirm that. But geez, oh man, geez, that's just... I have to pull up Minnesota for a second.
I'm trying to look for it as well to make sure, just to double check.
Well, the reason I'm bringing up is pretty simple. So Minnesota, so their win total was 7.5. They open against the Giants, the 49ers, Houston, Green Bay, the Jets. Oh, man. Whew. They're going to be bad, man. They might come out of the gate, and then they have Detroit, the Rams. That's a brutal stretch. 1-5, 1-6. That's not the way you want to start a season. That you talk about overcoming adversity. That's definitely it. Will in Buffalo chimes in on Facebook. I can't believe you're destroying the Bills. They've been one of the perennial, consistently run franchises over the last 5 to 6 years. I know you've been critical of Allen over the years, but I'm not going to go as far as say there's a disconnect within that franchise. I think it's purely speculation on your part. Okay. All right. I appreciate that, and thanks for listening in from Buffalo. I just think there's something there's a disconnect. Yep. Yeah, we talked obviously, so that's pretty much confirmed by O'Connell with JJ McCarthy, which is good. Unfortunately, he's missing the entire 2024 season, as you just heard with that stat on X as well. The Bills, I can't get too confident with the Bills this year, guys. I'm sorry. I can't do it. 122. We'll take it up to, I should say, 422, unless you're listening on the West Coast, and we appreciate that. We'll take up to 5 o'clock straight up, 727-858-6650. A lot more NFL talk on the other side. I want to get into a little baseball as well. And also, I have to get into these comments from Carmelo Anthony. We'll get to that on the other side after the break. I mean, a gold medal or a gold medal now, which is nice and shiny, and you can hang it around your neck and put it in the chest with the rest of the jewelry, or an NBA title. I mean, where are we going? Now, again, some people are already disputing that claim, but we'll talk about that as well. Keep it locked in. If you guys want to get in on the conversation, 727-858-6650. We'll take up to 5 o'clock straight up on the East Coast. It is a Wednesday edition of The Drive with Q. Rich Quinones here. Angel Martinez behind the glass. We are powered by Ion TV, SR 1029 The Game. Don't forget to download the app as we are coming at you under the Coastal Sports Network umbrella.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have any body to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Call or text the show at 727-858-6650. Now, back to Q.
The nonsense that is social media. 727-858-6665. Oh, let me get to some of these comments on Facebook. Tweaking a lot of people today, and I apologize for that. E chimes in. Q, there you go, already starting to stir the shit up. I think he was trying to say, stir the pot. But anyway, with the Philadelphia Eagles and the Sirianni talk, I listened to your show on Monday. Wholeheartedly disagree with your take on the Philadelphia Eagles. I think at best they will win 12 to 13 games. They are the odds-on favorite to win the NFC East. Forget about last year. It's a different season. Hurts is locked in. Your Giants suck. Well, there you go. A little tit for tat from E on that one. All right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. I know the Giants are not going to be a good team. I think we can all agree. Injuries. So, by the way, did anyone hear or see the clip, right? That's kind of making its way around. Carmelo Anthony says he would not trade his Olympic gold medals for an NBA ring. Now, I find that very hard to believe because if you're a college player and you win a gold medal in the Olympics, that will do more for you in your professional career than if you are a pro player and you win a gold medal, if that makes sense. Like Mary Lou Retton wins the gold and she's on the cover of Wheaties, right? On cereals and commercials. And it just, as an amateur, the gold means so much more and it can be extremely profitable going forward with marketing, branding, endorsements. You're making the rounds. You're all over the place. You know, back in the day, Letterman, Carson, here we go, Leno, whatever. So I find it hard to believe that Melo, he said it, but I find it hard to believe that a player would really think for a minute that a gold, I understand the pride with it. Okay, I get it. But over an NBA title? I mean, come on, man. Are you kidding me? And I think maybe Melo's saying it because he won several golds, but he couldn't do diddly in his career. He never won an NBA championship. I mean, do you think for 1 minute Michael Jordan or Magic or Larry Bird are sitting around saying, yeah, you know what? I'll take that 1992 gold, which was a glorified scrimmage. That was ball at Rucker Park in 1992. Cats were going up and down the court. That's all that was. It was a glorified scrimmage, blowing out teams by 35 friggin' points. The greatest team ever assembled on the court. 1992, the dream team. You think those guys would turn around and say, yeah, you know, I'm going to give up my NBA ring. It means more for a gold medal, or my gold is much more valuable than an NBA ring. I think that's a crock. And it's also from a player that never won anything in the NBA. That's right. Listen, I don't believe Melo is an all-time great, but some people do. I thought Melo was a really good player, at times great player. But when I think of all-time greats, I'm sorry. I don't think of Carmelo Anthony. And again, I'm a Knicks fan, but I don't think of Carmelo Anthony. You know, Carmelo in college, that's the difference in the NBA. Or I should say the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. We're just not looking at your, quote, NBA career, your professional career. We're also tagging you with college if you played overseas, Olympics, pro. We're mixing everything. I mean, don't get me wrong. Melo was a great player. He was a great player. But I can't sit there and say, you know, when I think of all-time, he's not there for me. He's not there for me. And they had some, you know, a couple of decent Knicks squads, don't get me wrong. But they never won anything. And maybe that's why that comment's coming about, because he won gold medals. But man, if I'm a player and if I win an NBA championship, I'm relishing that more than a gold medal. I am. I'm because the way it is now, man, you can turn around and it's so hard to win an NBA championship. And when you play in the Olympics or you participate in the Olympics, and I mentioned this on Monday's show, It's a foregone conclusion. It's a gimme. There's no reason why USA men's basketball should not win the gold every 4 years if they're throwing NBA players out there. Because we're led to believe, from the late great David Stern to now Adam Silver, that the NBA has the best players in the world. So it's a foregone conclusion you should win the gold. But to win an NBA championship or to be a local kid or maybe be a player that, grew up in the boroughs and starred in college in Syracuse, and then to go say, I don't know, to a Knicks team, you're born in Brooklyn, you play for the Knicks and win a championship, I think you're going to savor that a little more than a gold medal. That's just my take on it. I'm not going to call the BS, but that's just my take. 727-858-6650. I think it's very hard to win championships in professional sports. I love the fact, hey, man, patriotic, you won three gold medals, but you didn't win an NBA championship. 727-858-6650. Yes, Angel.
Huh?
Oh, you look like you were getting from here. The incredible shrinking Hermano looked like he was getting ready to say something, and then I get the See, Angel, he's so locked in right now. I mean, he's.
Listen, I am as you're talking, I am multitasking and loading some other stuff up. So I hear what you're saying, but now I've just to kind of break in as well. I have not seen the report and looking at a couple sources from that other injury. So I'm going to call that one bogus for now. Nothing came up from any of the source banks. So the only thing I saw, obviously, which everybody had, as you were mentioned, with JJ McCarthy, a huge blow, obviously, in Minnesota, huge one to their career, and then your backup plan. Yeah, it's just Vikings fans to know every year you guys suffer through it. You're going to have to suffer through another season.
Slinging Sammy Darnold. That kid never got a fair shot in New York.
No.
He didn't. He got hurt, then he had the mono, and it just never panned out for him. But that's really bad. What do we got here? Ant on Facebook chimes in. Q, do you really think the 49ers are going to trade Ayuk? I mentioned this the other day. I commented on your page. You never responded. Okay, sorry about that. But I do think the offense will be fine even if they do trade him. Sorry, I didn't respond. I wouldn't trade him. Christian McCaffrey's banged up. Debo's never healthy. Kittle sometimes gets banged up. I think Ayuk means a substantial amount to that 49ers offense. Everything's predicated along with the RPOs, but more or less get these guys in space, option, right? Spread them out.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the 49ers are at their best. They averaged 28 last year, right? So, look, man, pay him. Pay him. You're talking about a wide receiver. Debo is good, but Ayuk is special, man. I mean, Debo's special too, but I just think about this. Brandon Ayuk was targeted 105 times last year. Debo Samuel was targeted 89. Their tight end was targeted more times than Samuel and Kittle. Mm-hmm. And Kittle and Ayuk had over 1,000 yards. I think you take Brandon Ayuk off that offense, and it struggles more than if you took Debo off that offense. If that answers your question, and I apologize, I will comment on Facebook in due time. These guys want to get paid. And again, I don't blame them. I don't have to agree with how much they want. It's not my money. But I can sit here and say, I don't think the guy's worth it. Joe in East Orange on Facebook. See, this is my Giants post. Q, I don't know why you're trying to down and piss on the Giant fans. Let us be giddy. If Daniel Jones having a beard is going to get us 10 wins, then let it happen. All right, well played. I'll give you that. Listen, I get it, right? You got the new look quarterback. He's got the dog in him. Angel, you know this. Every quarterback or every player that has a bullseye on their back, or they're coming off an injury, or they're getting set to play in their final year of their contract,
mm-hmm.
whatever it is, or they want big money. in the offseason. All you hear is the same thing. He's locked in. He looks great. He's got that dog in him. This is a different type of insert quarterback right there, right? This is a different type of Donovan. This is a different type of Eli. This is a different type of Aaron Rodgers. This is a different Peyton we haven't seen. This is a different type of Ty Detmer, right? From our reference on Monday. No offense to those guys. But we hear it all the time. And I don't care. I don't care how strong and physically strapped Daniel Jones looks. I don't care if he's dating Kay Adams. Congratulations. That's the buzz out there that he's dating Kay Adams or whatever. I don't know how much validity. Why not? Good for you, Daniel Jones. The beard looks fantastic. Hey, okay, I'm for it. But man, you got to be healthy. You got to be accessible. You got to be available. I need Daniel Jones. If I cannot comprehend or wrap my head around this. Now I'll be a fan for a moment. As a fan, when do we turn around and say, this guy's had enough shots. This guy's had enough chances. Like, it's going to be year number 6 for Daniel Jones.
Right.
Year number 6. And if I hear another friggin' Giant fan say, well, this is year 6, like, what does that mean? Like, this is it reminds me of the scene in Rocky Balboa, the more recent one.
Right.
Right? When he's talking to Paulie in the meat locker, and he's talking about wanting to fight again. And Paulie turns around and goes, what? You didn't peak? You haven't peaked yet? Like, where are we? 6 seasons now. How many more seasons am I giving Daniel Jones? Is my point. How many more seasons am I giving this guy? So in the NFL, every quarterback's throwing for 4,000 yards, 25 touchdowns. And they're playing in 16, 17 games. Is it too much to ask for Daniel Jones to put up those numbers? I don't think so. And if he can't do it, then guess what? You're not married to him.
Sure aren't.
That's the other problem that the Giant fan doesn't realize. If you just look at the numbers, and again, nobody wants to do that, which drives me insane. It really does. When you look at, for instance, contracts, you got a 27-year-old quarterback, Angel, suffered a torn ACL last November. The Giants finished 6-11. They shuffled in Tommy Cutlets, Taylor. Daniel Jones got cleared in the spring. But again, you're talking about a franchise that paid a quarterback who was coming off his best season as a pro. They won a playoff game, and then he gets hurt after he got paid. So here's 4 years. Here's $160. Here you go, 35 in additional incentives. I'm hurt. I'm struggling. I've been an inconsistent quarterback my entire career. So Daniel Jones is a tough quarterback. He's injury prone. Daniel Jones has talent. He's got an arm. He's athletic. And if he plays 17 games and they're competitive and he cracks 4,000 yards and 30 plus touchdowns, then I think you have something to work with some of these weapons. But I believe right now the Giants and Daniel Jones are in a love-hate marriage because New York can end this relationship. They can file for divorce after. He's entering year 6, right, of this rocky relationship. And I believe if he struggles, they're headed for a divorce. So the release of Jones, and this is where you have to be realistic and look at the numbers. $22.2 million. That's dead money hit. $19.4 million in salary cap savings. So, and $25 million, and I'll double check, is part of his non-guaranteed $30 million salary in 2025. So now all of a sudden, Giant fans, you can breathe a little bit. So that's a major issue to some extent. When I say breathe, calm down, is it possible now that the Giants might turn around and stick this guy in bubble wrap too? But nobody wants to talk about that because you don't want him to get hurt and be on the hook. So if they're 1-6, 1-7, and he's struggling, he's playing poorly, but he's healthy, they might bubble wrap him. This is why I go back to when you talk about drafting quarterbacks in the NFL, and everyone thinks it's so easy, and all you hear are fan bases and sometimes media talking heads. Hey, man, just keep drafting it until you get it right. Do you understand when you have a miss at the quarterback position, it's the one position in all of sports that will set your franchise back 5 to 10 years. You can have a miss in hockey because what do we always hear? Well, you have 2 goalies. Well, you got a goalie controversy, right? You can't have 2. That means you don't have 1. You got to figure it out. You can get away with it if you give a pitcher some money and he gets Tommy John if he has surgery because you got 4 other friggin' starters. Same thing in the NBA. In the NFL, if I draft you 6, if I draft you 5, if I take you 4, if I draft you, number 1 overall, and you play on that rookie contract, and then I break the bank and I give you Tua-esque kind of money, Daniel Jones-esque kind of money, the money that Prescott's going to want, and you've been consistent, you've been injury prone, you had one good moment. Daniel Jones, I'll never forget when him and Eli, when they decided we're benching Eli, and this was against Tampa Bay. They were down 18 points, and Daniel Jones had one of the most dramatic rookie performances, first game inserted action starts I've ever seen from a quarterback. He was just absolutely nuts that game, and they won. Tampa Bay missed a field goal late. Everyone's like, here we go, franchise quarterback. Then he put up numbers. But yet, after the playoffs, they paid him. They paid him, right? They were trying to do a solid. They paid the kid. Mara mentioned so many times we messed this kid up. Offensive line, we messed it up. We didn't get it right. Okay, fine. But now you got egg on your face. So when someone says, well, it's year number 6, what does that mean? I mean, my God, Eagles fans, you're 2 years removed from going to the Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts. And all I hear from Eagles fans and all I hear in the backyard right outside AC, this is a big year for Jalen Hurts. It's a big year for Jalen Hurts. Well, if Jalen Hurts turns around, they win that game against Kansas City, they win the Super Bowl, he's MVP. Are we really having this discussion? No. It's the life of a quarterback in the NFL. You have to win. You have to win. I don't care if your numbers are sexy or not. Like in Daniel Jones's case, I keep bringing up the 4,000 yards, 25 plus touchdowns because Baker Mayfield threw for 4,000 yards, 25 something touchdowns. And you would almost define Baker Mayfield with respect as a journeyman quarterback at this point of his career, who finally might be the face of a franchise for the next 5, 6, 7 years. I'm not asking a lot from Daniel Jones. So when I'm critical of him, I think it's fair. I think it's warranted. But I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. There are just some quarterbacks in the NFL that teams have paid them and it hasn't worked out. And if it doesn't work out, coaches get fired. 727-858-6650. About 15 to play with. We'll take you up to 5. Come back on the other side. A little baseball talk. Has anyone noticed the type of season Aaron Judge is having with the New York Yankees? And I said it on Monday. I'm going to say it again. Panic time if you are a Phillies fan. We'll take you up to 5 o'clock, 15 to play with.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
And you're back. No bumper guy.
I forgot it was a short.
Yeah. 30 seconds.
Now you look at that. I don't see you now, and you don't hear me. So you might have to refresh. I'm not refreshing. I'm done refreshing. I'm already freshed.
All right.
See?
I'll refresh.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do you solid. I'm going to refresh so we can hear you. Hold on.
Okay.
Just we're teeing it up. We're
Sure.
time out.
Go
I'm
ahead.
going to refresh.
Yeah, I can see myself.
Be back in 10.
Okay. Once again, thanks to everyone who tunes in, and obviously the Drive with Q here 3 to 5 on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on the Coastal Sports Network. Don't forget to download the app at sr1029thegame.com as my hermano enters the room back here in 3, 2, 1, and there he is.
I forgot we were coming back early from that last commercial break.
Yeah. By the way, even though this was not on your show, but as Dylan and I had talked about this earlier, for those who watch NASCAR or stay tuned with NASCAR, we mentioned that something was going to end up happening. Joey Logano was fined $50,000, and looks like they stripped Austin Dillon's playoff spot and fined Logano for the incident on pit road, which is not surprising. If you guys missed it, Austin Dillon wrecked Joey Logano, and I forgot my second driver. Anyways, there was a wreck. Take him out the way, and off they went. So yeah, that's your NASCAR quick update. Yes, hermano.
Oh, all right. We're doing NASCAR on the air. All right. I'm trying to see where this came out of. We got it now. Can you
way left field?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking frauds in the NFL and quarterbacks and contracts, and all of a sudden I'm talking about a crash on turn 63.
Hey, it was just a Casey Kasem moment.
Did I ever tell you the story of when I had Kevin Harvick on the air?
No.
So at the time, Kevin Harvick won the Daytona 500.
Okay.
And this was oh wow. So this was 2000. Wow, this was 2007. So I'm with Fox Sports Delaware, $12.90 the ticket. And they're like, because it's Delaware and Eastern Maryland Shore and around that area, they're big NASCAR people.
Right.
Here's your NASCAR moment. This is the first and last you'll get on the air from me on this show, by the way. And I'll never forget. I have to pull up what the hell number. His number he was, right? The car number.
Right.
I don't know. I'll make the 44 car, whatever.
49. But go ahead.
Okay. 49 car?
29.
29.
Yes.
29. Okay. 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 29. Okay. 29. Okay. I think I said on the air, all right, well, welcome in, the Daytona 500 winner, Kevin Harvick, driver of the 436 car.
Jesus. Good hit. 3 numbers. Good going. Lord. You'll play it in a video game. We're not in real life. It's double digits.
Well, wait. So my producer at the time is a good friend of mine, Big Mike, Michael Cutt, is a huge NASCAR fan, right? Wait. Now when I say we had the glass.
Right.
It was Clear Channel Cluster right near the News Journal, now part of iHeart. Huge, gorgeous studio. I'll never forget. I punch him up and I say it. And I was like, Kevin, how you doing today? And as soon as I said, driver of the 329 car and the Daytona 5, my producer, literally, he's on the air and he's like this. And he's like this. He's like, no. And I'm like, hey, we got him on. We're good to go. I'm talking back to him. I was like, yeah, don't worry about it. We got him on. All I hear is, no, it's the blank car. You blank. Not So yeah, I gave him 3 numbers, and that's the extent of the. Look at this. See, there we go. There you go. And look at that. So of course, I overstepped my boundaries, and now here we go. Boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
29, Stuart Haas, number 4. I combined the friggin' 2. Who gives a shit? I'm sorry, right? My God. You ever drive in a pace car before?
No.
I did.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
I believe Dylan will be in a pace car come for Daytona here in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, guess what? No disrespect. I keep talking NASCAR. I'm going to pace my audience right out of here. We'll save that for you guys. 727-858. It was a big screw up on my account. 727-858-6650. All right, about 10 to play with. Have you been by the way,
yes,
your Miami Marlins blanking the Philadelphia Phillies. It's panic time. It's
No.
with the Phillies. Yeah,
No.
it is.
No.
Yep. And just to give you a little perspective, Bryce Harper, we had him pegged as MVP. How about the past 2 months? Right? He's been consistent, no doubt, but his numbers have dropped exponentially.
Yeah, he's saving it for September.
Well, yeah, exactly. Right. And then Walker basically got shelled. I mean, how do you get blanked? They've been outscored. Let me pull up the numbers. They've been outscored 31-8 their last 4 games. They got blanked by the horrible Marlins last night, 5-0. That was the first shutout at the park since 2023 against the Twins. And the Phillies are 7-16 second half of the season. I'm telling you right now, if the Atlanta Braves keep nipping at their toes, and the Atlanta Braves, if you go into the last week of baseball, and the Braves are a game back,
right?
And the Phillies, you need to win, not you, but the Phillies need to win the division. They have to win the division. You do not want to put yourself in a situation. You got the top 2 seeds in each league. So the top 2 teams with the best records among the 3 division winners in each league, you get a first round bye in the playoffs. That's a huge advantage. And Philly right now is in danger of squandering it. In trouble.
No.
With a capital T.
No way.
You are right now.
We're
Yeah,
back
you
in
are.
September. Listen, load them up. All right, load them up. It's going to happen. I'm not worried about a thing. I mentioned. Let's not forget this. That if the Phillies start hot and they continue that way, the All-Star break. What did I say? They would take that nosedive after the All-Star break. But come September, they start chasing them. They may not be the St. Louis Cardinals. Big difference. But they will come back. I'm not worried about it.
St. Louis Cardinals reference. Aaron Judge walking away, as they say on the air, running away with the MVP. It's done, man. It's absolutely
over Ohtani.
Well, let's see. Aaron Judge is where in the AL? Have you just? I mean, do I have to remind you where Ohtani plays now in Los Angeles? What the hell with the freaking Dodgers in the NL? You know what? Just go back to the pace car. Go back to whatever the hell you were doing. His odds right now sliced pretty much. It's telling you he's having a absolutely ridiculous. First of all, no one's catching Judge, and no one's catching Ohtani. They're just not. I mean, his number, he's got 42 homers. He's got 106 ribbies. He's walked 98 times. His OPS is, I think, 1.160. You look at his WAR. I mean, he is close. Right now, Aaron Judge is very close to a Triple Crown. He is very close to a Triple Crown, and it's a historic season right now for Aaron Judge. Now, I just need the Yankees to get to the ALCS.
Not happening? Okay.
Well, I don't know, man. They're feast or famine with the offense, plus 110 run differential. And I don't know, Baltimore is a very good team. The Yankees are half a game up right now in the AL East. But, yeah, if the Yankees don't get to the ALCS, it'll be a disappointment. And, you know, what hurt them is they had that horrible friggin' slide where they dropped like 16 out of 23. They had a really bad slide, but Judge is just putting up monster numbers. I feel as though if you're not a Yankees fan or baseball fan or really like a hardcore fan, you can't appreciate just how great of a player he is.
Mm-hmm.
These numbers are just astronomical monster. He'll probably hit, if he stays healthy, he will hit 500 plus home runs, you know.
What's he now? 25?
Huh?
What's Aaron Judge now? 25?
Aaron Judge is 29 plus 4. No, Aaron Judge is like 31, 32.
Is he really?
Yeah. I said 29 plus 4. What's he, 33? Aaron Judge is 32 years old. Yeah.
Get out of here. Doesn't even seem like it. He's been in the league that long.
He's been in the majors for 10 years.
Holy crap. Where the hell does time go? Goodness gracious.
How would you think Bryce Harper is?
Bryce is going to be what, 31?
There you go. He'll be 32 in October.
I mean, that's good Bryce knowledge. For me. You're welcome. That's okay.
I mean,
just in your Venmo.
But you had to redeem yourself from friggin', thinking
Hey,
that
listen,
Aaron Judge is gonna
all together for MVP.
Hold on. Oh, no, but it's AL and NL. Not for the friggin' league. What the hell are you talking about? Baseball Writers Association Awards. Say that stuff live on the air. Pull your sports credential. I'll pull your credential.
I throw a hardball in there. But no, listen, he's, like I said, there's very, very few Yankees that I will respect and honor. But Aaron Judge is definitely up there with the greatest. Mariano Rivera, definitely number one all time in my book, period. Will always be there. Derek Jeter, number two. Aaron Judge, throw him in there. That's it.
Ohtani, by the way.
Forget about it.
Who?
A-Fraud. Fraud.
Yeah, but guess what? He was locked in 2009. You knew every time he stepped to the plate, he was drawing the ball out of the park.
Fraud.
Yankees beat the Phillies. Just want to remind you. What about Ohtani?
Thanks. Yeah, I was there. I appreciate it.
By the way, horrible week for Chi-Chi's. See, my man Chi-Chi Rodriguez passed away. El Matador. And then you saw that Angel Salazar, the actor from Scarface, passed away.
Yeah.
I always wondered, I have to get the Chi-Chi the Yayo shirt. I always wondered what life would have been like for Tony Montana if Chi-Chi never took the Yayo in the hotel. Remember that scene?
Yeah.
Which I think by the way, people think that movie was shot in Miami. A lot of it was shot in California.
Yep.
But what if he never took the Yayo? If he never took it, and then, his friend Angel Fernandez lost his life, right? The chainsaw incident. And then they met Frank Lopez, and he just gave him the money, and he gave him the cocaine as a gift. That's from me to you. You guys hungry? I'm so hungry I can eat a horse. What?
In actuality, that movie was not supposed to have been the blockbuster that it was. They figured because remember too, the budgets back in the day weren't that big, but they had talked about, you know what? It could be, it was either a make it or break it type movie. They just never knew it would become as iconic as it's been.
Cult classic.
Yep.
And they did take some archive footage from what was it? The freeway. That was true.
Mm-hmm.
With all the immigrants, all the Cubanos coming over on the freeway, under the freeway.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a great movie. But yeah, I felt bad, man. Chi-Chi passes and the other Chi-Chi passes. So I definitely have to get a Yayo shirt though.
Okay.
Remember the scene when they're in a club and he's trying to dance with Michelle Pfeiffer, and he's like, "What's your name?" And she's like, "Elvira Hancock," and he goes, "Hancock." Is that some kind of bird? She's like, "Where are you from?" "Baltimore." "Baltimore." I never heard of it. Might have to watch Scarface tonight. I told you, I'm watching Prison Break. Did I tell you that? Did I share that with the audience? I think I shared it with the audience. Prison Break.
I think you did.
All right. It's now I'm starting to think, oh, am I really going to get through 5 friggin' seasons? Like, I get it. You broke out of prison. You're on the run.
Right.
22 episodes a season. Oh, come on, man.
That is a lot.
But obviously you didn't get caught. You're not going to go back to prison.
True.
But the problem now is I'm in. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
I'm in.
I got you.
It's like when George proposed to Susan, he's in. He needed an out. He either had to smoke, he had to pick his nose, he had to do something. He had to get out of that. He had to get out of that proposal. I'm in with Prison Break, and I feel now I just got to finish it. But it's 5 friggin' seasons. It's like another 70-something episodes, man.
Yeah, it's a lot. That's a lot to friggin' recap.
Yeah. what the hell I'm going to do with that? All right, got to start wrapping it up on a Wednesday. So what did we take away from today? Angel doesn't pay attention. He just randomly thinks that Shohei Ohtani plays in the AL. And we got a NASCAR minute. So we learned a lot today on the show. And this is water. And we also learned that you should not keep this on the top of your car.
That's right.
And I believe Gas Pump Guy, we appreciate him chiming in, recommended not room temperature. What was it?
No, he said room temperature.
Oh, room temp. Okay,
Yeah.
room temp. We're good. All right.
Now, you know what? That is good, actually, that he mentioned that, because at nighttime, if you drink warm water, it actually helps out with your bowels and regulates your blood sugar. True. Well, listen, health facts. See, now something that you learned since you want to bust my chops. How about that one?
Oh, man, I gotta close the show on that.
Yep.
Well, I guess people can't really turn around and say that Angel is full of shit.
Exactly.
All right, Friday, back in the saddle on a Friday edition of The Drive. We will continue with a little preseason NFL, some baseball, working on some good guests. See if we can get Lloyd on. Jonathan Marshall on the NBA. Got to get his thoughts on this whole gold medal. Just the overhype of winning the gold, right, as compared to the NBA championship. But greatly appreciate all the comments and all the new listeners. I'm going through my spiel. You're giving me a Dikembe. What is it? Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
No, when you, as you mentioned the Olympics, did you also hear about the medals that the athletes are carrying around? Apparently they're fading away.
No, but I did hear that breakdancing will not be making its return.
That's right.
Wait, so what are you saying? They're Fugazi medals?
Yeah. So
are they like the ones you got when you were a kid? The little chocolate?
Yep. Basically what it's turning into. They're tarnishing away. Like they a lot of the athletes, like the bronze medals especially, you know how you take a brand new penny, let's say you get it from the bank, you throw it in the water, it browns up, correct? That's what's happening to the medals. So now Paris is saying that they're going to go ahead and do them right by sending them another one. What the hell are you going to send them? If the first ones didn't work, what's the second one's going to look like?
Listen,
frauds.
That'll be damned. They need to figure out, they need to keep breakdancing in 2028. They have to.
Should we bring up the Australian once again? That's the reason why it's not coming back.
I mean, you always have one person that ruins it for the rest of us. We can't have nice things. So, all right, with that. So, there's your Olympic update, by the way. So Angel Martinez behind the glass. Don't forget, tune in to Angel Monday to Friday, Martinez and Company, 10 to 12, Pete Shepard, 7 to 10, myself, The Drive with Q, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Awesome job with you guys chiming in, the engagement on X, Facebook, and of course on the show. Greatly appreciate it. You guys always make me laugh. Hope you had a little fun as well. Have a good Sports Wednesday. Download the app, SR 1029 FM The Game. Don't forget to check us out online, SR1029thegame.com. We are powered by ION TV, Coastal Sports Network, and always coming at you live on X, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Rumble, anywhere you can think of. So have a good Sports Wednesday. Back in the saddle on Friday as well. Hopefully we get a full show. Not sure if I've got to travel in the afternoon, but we will be back on Friday. As always, I'm Rich Quinones. Be safe, be sound. Hasta luego.